Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. I'm going to talk to you today about do stinging nettles sting dogs. I don't think you're going to get much action out of my boys this morning. We just got back from our walk. Years ago, I googled this and had a look into it and found out that stinging nettles do sting dogs. But I thought to myself this week, they're coming up all over the place at the moment. It really is that season. And I thought, I just want to check that. What's the research been on that? Because it was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more. I looked into it. If you haven't got time to watch my video, the short answer to this is yes, they do. Stinging nettles do sting dogs. I had a look to see what they call them in other parts of the world. Burn nettles was something else. In a minute, I'll put a clip in. I just took a video of them this morning, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. See, when I was growing up, like in the 70s, there were stinging nettles everywhere. We played outside all the time, and there were stinging nettles everywhere, and dock leaves. But maybe you didn't have that. I don't know. But to me, stinging nettles are very familiar. Anyway, I'm going to put a video up now so you know what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about in case you don't know. I assume, everyone knows what stinging nettles are, but maybe you don't. Maybe I just grew up where there were a lot of them. But this is what they are, and they're popping up everywhere. They can get quite high, but they are everywhere at the moment. I don't know if I can see dock leaves. Are they dock leaves? Or was that a dandelion? I don't know if that's a dock leaf. That might be a dock leaf. But this is what you need to know about is these stinging nettles. So that's the stinging nettles I'm talking about. So the research is very clear on it. If you Google it, you will see very quickly that stinging nettles do sting dogs. And you know how it hurts. I got stung by one last year, and it was the first time in years, maybe years and years since I've been stung, and it lasted a good few hours, and it hurt. It really did hurt. And the research does say that even though dogs have got fur, and even if it's thick fur, the sting can go through to the skin, and it hurts them as much as it hurts us. So it's really uncomfortable for them, and it lasts a couple of hours just like it does us. And I know it's not always easy if your dog's off the lead, but try really hard not to let them just shove their heads right into a load of stinging nettles. Now, maybe your dogs wouldn't do that, but my dogs, even if they're on the lead, just will shove their heads straight into a load of stinging nettles. I suppose they're not going to know, are they? But I stop them as soon as I can. I stop it because I don't want them getting stung. And the signs of it are what you would expect, really. It irritates them because it's not itching them, is it? Because it just hurts. It just plain out hurts. And so that's what you're going to see is that they're really, really going at an area. But it shouldn't last more than a couple of hours. But it would be hard, I suppose, not to know, what it is that they're going at. The other interesting thing is, with us dock leaves, so dock leaves are supposed to grow near stinging nettles. And when I was growing up as a kid, and you got stung by a stinging nettle, that's what you did. There would always be dock leaves around, and you went and got them, and you rubbed them on it, and it was amazing how quickly it stopped the stinging. But I've been looking at this a lot when I've been walking around, and I don't know if this is just me being old and blind, but I'm not blind. I'm not taking the mickey out of anybody that is. I just mean, as I'm getting older, my eyesight is really deteriorating bad. But I'm not seeing the dock leaves as much. Now, this could just be me not seeing them. Or are dock leaves not growing near stinging nettles anymore? I'm not sure about that, but I haven't been able to see them. But if you do see a dock leaf near stinging nettle and your dog got stung, then the juice from the dock leaf does work on dogs the same that it does on us. So you squeeze it and you get like a liquid come out of it and rub that on the sting, and it does work the same. The only thing is, I don't think the sting on a dog would show up that quickly. I think it would be till you got home and you realised there was a problem, by which point you wouldn't be near the dock leaves. So unless you got dock leaves in your garden, maybe. So that was something that I found out. They're not poisonous. So they're not poisonous to the dogs. There were, but they've only found 2 cases of this, and I think that's in the whole world. I'm assuming, as it's Google, it's the whole world, where when the dog got stung, the dog did go into toxic shock, but there were only 2 cases of that in the whole world, and they weren't exactly sure if something else hadn't also caused that. So I wouldn't get too, I'm personally not going to get too worried about that. If my dogs do show signs of getting stung, I'm not going to be too bothered about worrying about them going into toxic shock. Obviously, I'll keep a close eye on them, and if they don't look well, then obviously get them to the vets or whatever. But so although it has happened a couple of times, it's not something I'm worried about. I do worry about the fact that they just go head first into these bushes, you know, in their eyes and all over their face. I do worry about that because, I mean, with us, if we get stung, it's normally your hands or your feet or your legs or whatever, not your face. But dogs just, you know, head first straight into them. So yeah, that's horrible. I don't like the thought of that at all. But they in themselves, even though they can sting them, then the stinging nettles are not poisonous to dogs. So that is something. I'm not sure though that I've ever seen a dog try to eat a stinging nettle. Oh goodness, I hope they never would, because imagine how awful that would be. I'm pretty sure they never would. If my boys ever did get stung by them, what I would do is use my Johnson's tea tree cream on them, or the spray. I always think it's handy to have a cream or a spray handy in your house that deals with anything that gets itchy, because you just don't know. And I mean, it could be insect bites this time of year. If you know my channel, you know how much I love Johnson's tea tree cream and spray, but it's not available all over the world. So if you do want it, it's in I've listed it in the description, but it's not available all over the world. I've spoke to them and they have licensing problems in parts of the world. But if you find your equivalent to that, it's, you know, this sort of situation is why it's always really handy to have kind of that kind of thing around. So I would use that. I would put cream on it or spray it. And I'm just thinking about another thing. When Harry here, he got stung by a bee last year, and oh my goodness, the poor little thing, he cried and he cried about it for ages. And what I was doing was I was getting a flannel, putting it under the warm tap, and then I was placing it on top of the sting, and it really helped. And so I'm assuming that might help if there was a insect, like a stinging nettle sting. So I think if if the boys got a stinging nettle sting, I would go for my cream and my spray first. And if that didn't seem to be settling them, then I would probably put a warm flannel on it just to try and ease a bit of the pain. But the good thing about it is it lasts a couple of hours and then it's done. So it's not an all-dayer. But I would never leave a dog on his own if you think he's been stung by stinging nettles, because they will tear themselves to shreds. How it doesn't hurt beyond reason, I will never understand. But dogs will tear themselves to shreds if something is itching them or hurting them. So don't ever I would never leave them on their own if they had a stinging nettle sting, because goodness knows what you could come back to. But I'm really hoping it's not something I'm ever going to have to deal with. And I haven't had to yet. But the fact that stinging nettles are all over the place around here, and they do just stick their head straight into them, does concern me. But now I know, again, now I've confirmed it, that stinging nettles do sting dogs. Will be keeping an eye on them, make sure they're not going at their face after walks and stuff like that. I mean, unfortunately, it's not. I mean, it's not like something that you can wipe off, is it? It's not like your bee sting where you got to get the sting out or anything. It's just you just gotta let time and let it go down in its own time. As always, if you know anything about this, if your dog's been stung by stinging nettles, and if there was anything you did to help, can you let me know? Because it's always useful to know. So that's today's video. Albert, doesn't he look homeless? I groom him more than I groom any of my other boys. They're all groomed, but he's the one who takes the most work, and he looks the most homeless all the time. But he has fun in life. If he was pure white, then he wouldn't be having fun, would he? He's having fun. My Hump's fast asleep. Deeply asleep. And Pickle Boy over here. So that's it for today. So as always, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, if you want to message me over there. I'm working on listing the products that I use for my dogs, and I've put them into the description. And then there's the comment section here. So thanks very much. Have a lovely day. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.